Good morning, chicken winner. I wanted to make this video yesterday, and I feel like it was really an important chapter and discussion that when I wanted to make the video, every little annoyance would come up and make me irritable to get me out of the mind frame of making the video. The chapter is about Jesus's when he's sentenced to death, and these chapters just seem to speak on what's going on in the CWC. Sometimes they seem to have a coincidence, a coinkydink, but not really. I think they're providential. It's the hand of God in all things. That tapestry where you only see the front side, but then the back side you see all these colored threads woven in together, the side that we don't see. I know Sharon is taking the news about Candy really hard. One of her day one subscribers, and Candy was always like a good person for her. Somebody who was always nice to her and didn't turn on her and, didn't talk crap about her. She was just a positive presence for Sharon. And to have her taken away while other people who are mean and unkind, their health seems to be restored and their life renewed, and the unfairness of the situation, I know it brings up hurts for Sharon about her brother's death. Sharon said in her post that feeling sad about Candy is bringing up feelings of despair. And that's the point where we don't want to get to, because no matter what happens, even to the point of someone dying, we always have hope. I was reading yesterday 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, towards the end of the chapter. I'm not going to quote, but it does say, we don't grieve or mourn as people who don't have hope, because we believe in the resurrection. I mean, Jesus was the firstborn of the resurrection, and that promise goes to us that we will forever be with Christ in glory. And at the very end of the chapter, it says, comfort each other with these words. So, I mean, we're studying in this book the crucifixion, and it's brutal and it's hard. But we know at the end, Christ resurrects from the dead. We already know the end to the story, and that he gives that hope of resurrection to us. So even though we're meditating and contemplating on what he went to get to that point, we do have the hope of resurrection. And I also think about Jesus in the Beatitudes. He said, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. I believe that comfort sometimes doesn't come until the resurrection. Like, we have that hope. Sharon needs hope. She believed in her heart enough to turn to God and pray for Candy. But she needs the hope of the resurrection. This chapter, it talks about the unfairness of Jesus being sentenced to die. And I know she feels like it was unfair that her brother died. The other guy lived and her loved one was taken. And it's something she's struggled with all these years. I don't have an answer of why he was taken. And she says she despises when Christians give those answers. Oh, it was God's will. God has a plan for your life. Like those automated answers. She's heard them and they don't satisfy her. I don't have an answer for her why her brother was taken, but there is hope. For the short time where Sharon and we talked and we used to text on the phone, Sharon told me that her mom was Presbyterian and she had Sharon and her brother baptized. Which baptism puts you in the family of God. You become a member. The original sin is washed away. Now, I don't know his heart at the time, but that seal was put upon him and upon Sharon. We just need to strengthen her faith and give her that hope. So I was praying for her yesterday, and I wanted to do this chapter yesterday, and just every annoyance came up. Not like problems, just annoying distractions that just wanted to get me out of the mindset of making a video. But this chapter is just important because life isn't fair. It's not. Life is fair for pigs with ribbons. That's what I say. You go to the fair and you have a pig with a ribbon. That's the only one who life is fair for, the pig. And he gets turned into bacon anyway, so it's short-lived. Boy, I blew my train of thought with that one. I think I'm just going to read the chapter. All right. Thomas à Kempis on the Passion of Christ according to the four evangelists. We are on chapter 16 on the unjust condemnation of Jesus to death. Oh, unfairness. That's the verse I was going to think. I think it's in Matthew. Jesus said, "The rain falls on the unjust and the just alike, and the sun shines on the righteous and the unrighteous alike." It doesn't matter if you're good or you're evil. The sun is going to shine on you and the rain is going to come down on you. Sometimes the sun is good when, it's causing the plants to grow, and sometimes it burns us up. Sometimes the water quenches our thirst, and sometimes it drowns us. All right, I'm just going to read this chapter. Thank you for listening. Chapter 16. Lord Jesus Christ, author of life and standard of justice, I bless and thank you for your unjust condemnation to death, without any offense on your part, while a murderous revolutionary, unworthy of life, was spared. How detestable a decision! How contemptible an exchange! I need a sip of coffee. Wet my whistle. Because a tremendous tumult had arisen among the people, in no way was the judge able to appease that crowd's madness. He returned to his judgment seat and there pronounced his infamous judgment against you, namely that the thief Barabbas, who was worthy of death for having committed a capital crime, was to be released, while you, who were free of all offenses, were to be punished with the most shameful death, being handed over to be crucified. Such, alas, is this world's judgment. To what lengths is justice eviscerated when the ungodly are in command? Behold how the just one perishes, and there is none to free him. The one who is true is given over to the fraudulent, and the Holy One is scourged by the unholy. The innocent is handed over rather than the guilty. A thief is chosen over Christ, and Barabbas is released from his bonds in place of Jesus of Nazareth. The lamb is exchanged for a wolf, a saint for a criminal, the best for the worst, a desperado acquitted rather than the true God. Darkness is preferred to light, vice to virtue, death to life, scum to gold, shell to pearl, and he who is infamous is favored over him who is noble. Who will not grieve when he hears these things? Who will not become inflamed against that crowd? Who will not speak out against that judge? He may wash his hands and excuse himself before men, saying that he acted out of fear of Caesar, but he was constrained by that crowd's insistence. He is not totally free from guilt, however, for he knew that Jesus had been handed over to him out of envy. Indeed, it would have been better for him to have lost all temporal power and honors than to have condemned one who was innocent and whom he knew to be just. It would have been more profitable for him to have lost everything in this world than to sin against God by killing the Christ. How terrible will the judgment on the last day be for the unholy and unbelieving, when God the judge, who is now judged to be unjust, will appear in the glory of his majesty. All the devout faithful, who deeply mourn the sacrilegious condemnation of Jesus Christ, their Lord, will then rejoice, and all who patiently bear the afflictions of this world and suffer its injuries and contempt will on that day be joyful and feel secure. Holy and loving Lord, unjustly judged by Pilate, the governor, and condemned to the ignominy of the cross, grant that during the community's chapter of faults, I may humbly accept any decision made against me, and may I not foolishly judge my superior or attack my accusers with injurious remarks. But following the example of your patience, may I imitate your virtuous silence. Nor let me take offense when trampled upon by someone placed over me, but let me leave all judgment to you. The servant is not greater than his master. If you, who are the judge of all, were so poorly judged, and since you, who were totally without guilt, offered no resistance to your violent enemies, how much more I, who often and in so many ways have been at fault, ought to submit to the censure of my fellow monks. And that's because he was a monk writing to other monks. Help me, most kind Jesus, cheerfully to bear the yoke of submission and the rod of correction, and whenever afflictions come my way, may I always remember your sorrows. Oh, it's a lot to think on and pray on. And I'm glad that I had some quiet time in my thoughts and in my kitchen to be able to share this with you. All right. Hope you're having a wonderful day.